Baby Rogue says hi too. This is a very quick video, I'm going to make it as quick as I can, about the differences between dehydrated and freeze-dried food. And Baby Rogue's going to help me interject whenever she can. So this is my chicken scratch. I am going to tell you exactly what's on here. So first of all, freeze drying and dehydrating, you can both do at home. However, dehydrating is easier and more affordable because those machines are, of course, everywhere. You can get dehydrating machines everywhere. Freeze drying, on the other hand, those machines are very expensive. I've seen them about $1,000. I think that's like the cheapest that I found them. You may be able to find cheaper ones, but for like a really good one that's going to really freeze dry it, it's about like $1,000 for a good machine. So freeze drying is not affordable or feasible for most people, but dehydrating definitely is. Okay, so what is the shelf life of these? But before we get into it, to have anything last a long period of time, it's the way that it's packaged and it's how much moisture is in there. Moisture is the killer of long shelf lives, okay? So with the dehydrating machines that you use at home, those actually, most of them only get rid of about 60 to 70% of the moisture. So there still is a little bit of moisture, and if you do it yourself, it can only last up to 1 year. If you have somebody else do it with like a more commercial dehydrating machine, it can last actually up to 15 years because they're getting rid of 95% of the moisture, a lot more moisture. So with freeze drying can last up to 25 years or more. So, again, freeze drying gets rid of most of the moisture, while dehydrating dehydrates the moisture out of it. But if you do it at home, it's only about 60 to 70% that you're getting rid of, depending on the machine. Let's see, and how you prepare it. Freeze dried usually only takes a few minutes to get fully rehydrated, maybe like 10 minutes. Like with a lot of mountain houses and things, they usually say like 12 minutes, but that's rehydrating an entire meal. If you rehydrate just like a little bit, it can really only take a few minutes. Trying to rehydrate dehydrated food can take up to 20 or 30 minutes. That's a long time. And, a lot of people simply, like when you're camping, backpacking, whatever, that's a long time to wait for food. So, dehydrating may or may not be the right thing for you, when it comes to camping or stuff like that. But you can definitely rehydrate it. It just takes a while. Okay, so the nutrition value. So this is very different actually. Freeze drying retains most of the nutrition because you're freeze drying it, you're not dehydrating it. When you're dehydrating it, you're literally dehydrating like the entire thing. So freeze drying retains most of the nutrition. It retains about 97% of the nutrition. That is a lot. So once you rehydrate it, it's basically like you're eating the original thing, almost. With dehydrating, it loses about 50 to 60% of its nutrition. So, when you're dehydrating it, you're losing half of the nutrition. And, while it still is more nutritious than, say, like a canned soup, could be more nutritious than like Spam or something, it still loses quite a lot of nutrition. So it's just something to keep in mind. So the weight, dehydrated is actually slightly heavier than freeze-dried. Freeze-dried is a little bit lighter, actually quite a bit lighter. And, a lot of people are like, oh, if dehydrated is a lot, lighter weight. It is technically compared to like, throwing a can in your bag or something, but it is still slightly heavier than like freeze-dried. But of course, dehydrated is lighter weight than a whole bunch of other stuff too. So it's just, again, pros and cons between the freeze-dried and dehydrated. The taste. So because freeze-dried holds most of the nutrition, you can really tell that it does hold most of the nutrition, and it does contain, how it used to really taste before it was freeze-dried. So the taste is a lot better. Of course, there are certain things that aren't going to taste as good, no matter whether it's dehydrated or freeze-dried, it's just not going to taste as good as the original, of course. But freeze-dried holds on to most of the original taste and texture and that kind of thing. So freeze-dried definitely is, higher up in that aspect. And the flavor is generally better than dehydrated because, again, with dehydrated, you're literally dehydrating. You're taking out so much moisture and you're taking out so much of the nutrients. Yes? Baby Rogue had to get her word in. You know, because with dehydrating, you take out so much of the nutrients, it simply does not have the same flavor or taste as it once did before it was dehydrated. And it may taste a little off once it's rehydrated. Baby Rogue was getting mad that she wasn't in the video. Okay, so, you know, of course there are pros and cons to both freeze-dried and dehydrated, but freeze-dried seems to really come on top when it comes to a lot of stuff. You know, dehydrating, of course, a great pro of it is that you can do it yourself. And even though it does lose a lot of nutrients, and with home-based machines, it doesn't, you know, take out as much moisture, it's still a really good option, you know, for a lot of us. So it's just, you know, it's pros and cons to both, and it's whatever you decide you want to carry with you or consume or any of that good stuff. And on that note, I guess she's going to start clearing the board for me. So I guess I better stop talking. Okay, on that note, I'll see you later if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and go do your own research on this. But I'll talk to you later. Bye.